I'm sure many of you would have been our consumers at some point of your travel journeys as you've been through the airports in India. So without any ado, I'm going to go into and talking you through our business. We've put up a few slides as well that are going to be talking about what we do, kind of explaining the business model that we have at TFS and how we ultimately deliver value to consumers as well. So that's very much the intention of that's very much the intention of what we do, ultimately delivering consumer delight, is ultimately what we do. We're a consumer-facing company in the aviation space. So yes, so if we can jump ahead maybe into the presentation, if that's visible on screen, then I can take off. Great. So yes, so just moving ahead. So just introducing the management to you, something they mentioned, but I'll just go through it. So I'm Varun Kapur. I head the business at TFS as the MD and CEO of the business. Along with me from the management team is Vikas Kapoor. Again, Kapoor but spelled differently. It's a W-R-U-R, but Vikas Kapoor, the CFO at TFS. On the side on the left is Gaurav, who's the Chief Operating Officer at TFS. And we have Sarah John as well from SSP, who are the chief shareholders in TFS, significant shareholder. And Sarah heads the corporate affairs at SSP based in the UK. So I think in terms of the offer, I think Samik took you through that, so I won't repeat most of it. But yes, this is an OFS that's happening. It's a raise of 2,000 crores. And like I said, this is something the company obviously first time going to the public markets, a key part of our journey ahead, and looking forward to that. In terms of what we do at the business, what does TFS do? A simple question, and honestly what we do is very simple. We operate in two areas. We operate, one is in travel QSR and the other is lounges. So travel QSR, all of us are used to the term QSR. QSR is quick service restaurants you see on the high street, very much there. The reason and why we say so, we operate restaurants in airports, right? But the difference is that we probably go a bit wider on the spectrum. We'll have your traditional QSRs, all of us see in the high street, the brands you see. But we also operate bars, we have casual dining, we have cafes, so it's a very broad spectrum. But we call it QSR because in an airport, everything has to be quick service, right? You're a passenger, you're traveling, you want the food quickly. So irrespective of the concept, it's about quick service. Our connotation, what we use is travel QSR to capture that particular area. And the other side, lounges. Lounges you see more and more important for travelers, not only in India but around the world. Travelers want experiences as they go about airports, they're traveling. So lounges very much address the need. We design, we build, we operate, we manage these units, whether it is a travel QSR, whether it is lounge. And we are the leader across these in India, in both of these areas. As you can see up there, we have totally 442 travel QSR units, and we have 37 lounges across our entire network. The business roughly equal between both of these segments for us as well. In terms of numbers, yes, these are numbers we've been there for 16 years in the business, and where we performed, for example, FY25, which is the year you can see up there. So we did roughly about 1,680 crores of consolidated revenue in FY25. We did a PAT of 380 crores approximately in that period as well, with robust growth on the revenue side, approximately just over 20%, and about 27.5% growth on our profit after tax from the previous year. Just very briefly, another statistic that matters a lot for business like ours is on the investment we do upfront, the returns. So ROC is something we always tend to look at. So we've had a healthy 51% ROC in FY25 and a similar level previously as well. So this has been quite consistent at delivering those returns. In terms of where we operate, so we're at airports, as I mentioned earlier. We're present at 18 airports across India, Malaysia and Hong Kong. So 14 airports in India, 4 airports outside of India. We tend to focus on the larger airports. So we're present at 13 to 15 of the largest airports in India particularly. And we run these through deep relationship with airport partners, different airport partners that are there. We operate in these various airports through relationships with them in those spaces. And I think just a key statistic for you up there as well is our contract renewal rates. So since our inception, by number of contracts, we've had a 94% approximately rate of renewal, which showcases the strength of the business to continue to keep and renew contracts since the beginning, which I think is a standout well for our business. So in terms of travel QSR, going into a little more explanation of that particular line of business. So we all know restaurants and airports. I think what separates TFS a bit also is our wide brand portfolio. We had a combination, so totally as of March 2025, we had 127 brands in our portfolio, delivering value to consumers across our real estate. And this was both a combination of in-house brands, the brands we curate, we create, we deliver, as well as brands we partner with, through franchise relationships. These could be prominent, as you see up there, prominent Indian regional brands, as well as some of the world's largest international brands. I think that separates us, in terms of the offering we bring. Because ultimately, you do what the consumer wants. Consumers, you avail choice. Today, some of the airports are truly phenomenal spaces where you get retail, F&B, and we can deliver that. We focus on delivering the right set of brands that consumers will be keen on. And that's a very key component of the entire model towards travel QSR. In terms of particularly talking about lounges, so lounges, you see that more and more, very important part of the traveler's journey. And you can see that very evident, with people going to lounges, experiencing that across the different airports in India. And while you can see up there some of the lounges we operate, some of the design philosophies we do, some of those elements are there. But what I'd like to touch on is also the relationships we work with. So these are with airline partners we tie up with. We tie up with cards, credit cards, banking companies, other lounge access programs, so various partners or suppliers to give consumers that visit our lounges as well, to which we get paid by those partners for availing those services for the consumer. And we've got multiple recognition, I think, for our industry, not only in India, but on a global scale as well. Significant awards, what we delivered. I think India truly on the lounge experience is the forefront of the larger common use lounge experience. And I think that's where we see an opportunity as well globally, which is part of the reason we went into markets outside of India, like I mentioned earlier. So what's our journey? Started from one airport, 2009. I mean, by almost a coincidence, the day we started was July 3rd, 2009. Today, July 2nd, is almost 16 years from the day when the business started. So yes, no doubt we are in front of you talking about going public, but it has been a 16-year journey of creating this business with the management team and the team members who've really put that together. It's almost 6,000 team members, very much part of our ecosystem, and have delivered that over that period of time. So from one airport in 2009 to 18 airports in FY25. The last few years, especially reminiscent of the tremendous growth aviation has seen. The type of push that's happened not only from the government, no doubt, private operators, government operators. You're seeing the entire push with airlines as well with the route expansions. Truly, the opportunity of the last few years has been tremendous in aviation. And I think we've done the ability to take advantage of that, grow, and really be able to create value for consumers during that journey. So, being the market leader, we thought this would be helpful just to give a perspective. So, we're focused on the sector, very clearly. When you see, if you've seen our, whether the RHP, anything, you've seen very clearly, we talk about aviation, we talk about travel. That is a focus area for us. We're market leaders in the segment. So both on the travel QSR side, as well as lounges, we have significant leadership over many of the peers that operate here, because it's a very focused initiative for us, right? We don't confuse, we don't look left and right. It's all about travel for TFS. I mean, for the matter, our name says that. You couldn't say more than that, travel and food. That's what our name is about. It's a clear, focused effort of delivering value in these segments, in these channels for us. So what separates TFS? What are those moats that are there? I mean, many of them may be evident, but maybe just to kind of enumerate them a bit more in detail and give a bit of flavor on what are those moats for TFS. So no doubt, we've been operating, like I mentioned, 16 years, a proven track record. We're proud of what we can deliver, not both for consumers and for our airport clients. That's a key area of what we focus on. Deep understanding of consumers, getting the right set of brands, delivering in a high pressure environment. Consumers, in that environment want food quick, highly anxious, and rightfully so. They want to catch their flight. There's various, things on the journey. You've got security, you've got immigration. We need to make sure we're the happy part of the journey. We need to be the best part of the journey for consumers. So making sure we deliver that, understand consumer experiences, deliver the right set of brands, going to the next, in terms of, and having those spaces and delivering it for consumers, but ultimately for airport partners, delivering for airlines. So those experiences that consumers go and have in those airports, airlines, we take care of that piece. We can take care of that critical component of the entire F&B experience for passengers at the airports. And that adds a lot of value for our clients as well in the segment. In terms of talking about our expertise, so airports no doubt are a difficult area to operate. Security, you can imagine in that space, anything going in the space needs to be done carefully. So we've focused on that, whether it's the security, the passes you need to get, all your items moving in. You can imagine every single item moving in, whether it's construction happening and the hammer going in, to the food items going in. Everything needs to be checked through security. It's very intense, and we're used to that. We deliver on that. We're very particular on those areas, and that separates us, from operating in a challenging environment. Flight delays. You need to ensure during that time of flight delays, consumers are hungry. You need to ensure you're ready to deliver, because it's our responsibility to make sure that during those times, outlets are stocked, team members are there, mobilized. We have enough product there to deliver for consumers during those testing, trying times when they missed a flight or it's gone for long. That's a key area of challenges that one sees in an airport segment, which we as an operator focus on. Over the 16 years of operating, we make sure those metrics, that focus area, is something we constantly look at day in, day out by all our leadership on the ground as well. In terms of the point which I discussed earlier, we're very proud ultimately. We are a company of our financial performance. No doubt, we focus delivering consumer experience, we focus on creating the right environment for our employees, and ultimately all that comes together to deliver great financial performance for the business. And that's been something consistently throughout our history we've been focused on. We have done that, as you will see from our numbers showcasing that. That's very much in our DNA. There's a very organized effort, thoughtful effort on capital allocation, investments, and ultimately delivering return on those upfront investments that we do to create these outlets at TFS. And lastly, we have in front of you the management and promoters. I won't go into that too much, but we've been in the business. We're proud of what we do. We do enjoy it, and we hope to ultimately deliver for consumers there. And ultimately, all I can say it ultimately comes together to deliver multiple units at airports. We've got a proven track record there, wide range of concepts, and hopefully a partner of choice for airport operators, since we can handle that piece for them. So going into the promoters, talking a bit about the two shareholders of the business. It's two shareholders there currently as well, prior to the listing. So one, SSP. SSP is a globally recognized company operating in travel QSR across the world. So in 38 countries now. It's constantly expanding. There are more than 3,000 units across the world. Market leaders, experts in the field, strong brand relationships, which no doubt benefit the TFS business in terms of international brands. Looking at India, that relationship is playing out. Best practices, whether it's on IT, whether it's on governance, whether things around sustainability. More and more important, doing the right thing for the environment. A lot of learning coming from those best practices at SSP that come down to the TFS business that allow us to really grow and execute on those. In terms of K Hospitality, one of the larger groups in the hospitality F&B side in India, present across multiple cities, 50 plus years in the market, in the country. A lot of credibility with brands we work with, in a sense nationally, credibility with airport partners, a lot of supplier relationships, which no doubt in our business you can imagine multiple SKUs, delivering food. So those relationships play a big part. So the bedrock of two strong partners ultimately today set the space for TFS to grow from there. And I think that's been something, no doubt, that's contributed to the initial strengthening and the strong pillars on which TFS could grow as a business to where we are today. So it's touching on the board of directors as well. So our chairman, Mr. Puri, is on the audit committee, Titan, JB Chemicals, renowned. So a lot of focus on governance at TFS. Joined as independent directors. Mrs. Geeta Mathur, Sonu Basim, quite well-known names, directors as well. So from a governance point of view, a key area at TFS, and along with them joined by the executive leadership as well that sits on the board, including myself. Experienced management team. While a few of us are in the room with you, we do have a strength. We've been 16 years. We know this business. This is what we do. We don't look at anything else. We focus on delivering a consumer experience. We're focused on creating the right environment for our employees so that we deliver that experience. And we're proud of what we do. So we've got a really robust team at TFS, not only at the corporate office, and you can see a few of the names up there with you, but equally on the ground. Ultimately, it's those people delivering the consumer experience out. And talking a bit about going ahead on what is the exact environment that we deliver the experience. So we're lucky to be, I think, honestly, in the right country, at the right time, in the right industry. It's a great place to be today. India, as one of the largest aviation markets, is the fastest growing out of the large aviation markets worldwide by a large margin. It has been the case in the past, and you can see continue to be expected to grow over the next decade or so as well, with those tailwinds really behind us. Not only that, our particular industry within that expected to grow about 18 to 23%, just the industry itself. That is just talking about the industry growing at those rates. So it's truly an area where significant opportunity, but equally comes with significant challenges to deliver that. And we are focused on that. You need to deliver. It's just about opportunity. You need to understand it's constantly changing experiences. We are consumers. What we like today as a cuisine may change tomorrow. What we like today as a brand will change the after. We need to be quick enough and nimble enough and focused enough to deliver on that. So no doubt, if you see kind of these structural pieces going on within travel in India, 138 airports roughly expected to go to 300 airports by 2047. Actually, more recently, I think that target's actually been spoken to be even higher than the current 300 airport target in 2047. Significant new aircraft orders already on file. India is the largest, Air India, Indigo, the type of orders they have in place. And lastly, I think another piece that plays out is the clear consumer effects in India, the consumer trends in India, where Indian consumers, no doubt, experiences better brands. The entire proliferation, as you can see, around credit card, debit cards, people going to that perspective. All of them, no doubt, playing out in the nature where people want better experiences, people want great experiences as they travel. And ultimately, that entire piece plays out into a great opportunity for the business in the years ahead. I spoke about the industry, both the travel, QSR, and lounge in areas expected to both grow quite robustly over the next decade, with the numbers that you can see that were called out in the industry report, evident by our growth as well, you'd see over the last few years as well. And I think just very briefly, an interesting statistic, particularly on India, with 1.4 billion people today as a population, we've got just around 400 million people in the air, right? 0.27. Significant headroom in terms of the population. We're a growing country, an aspiring country. We are on that path. You compare to some of the global markets, it's a clear difference. A clear area where, in terms of the population share, I remember you look at China as an example, 1.4 billion population, 1.1 billion people in the air. 10 years ago, it was a 380 million market in terms of passengers. Clearly shows the tailwinds, the opportunity for air travel, and kind of reinforces our belief this is a sector to remain focused on and continue delivering. Talking about two other areas that we are focused on, which we've no doubt started the initial phases of growth of laying those foundations. One on lounges globally. I mentioned we've entered Malaysia and Hong Kong as well. We've seen good success in those markets. We see that truly as an opportunity to go wider. So as a first level, the APAC and the Middle East regions are areas which we focused on. It's a neighboring area, demographics similar, strong tailwinds as well on travel and growth and investment on airport infrastructure. So we see that market. We even leverage the SSP global relationships to see our lounge growth in those markets as well. In addition to that, expressways in India. So now many of you will be seeing the whole change that's happening on highways in India. Traditionally highways, state and national highways, the government has really gone out and done massive infrastructure investments, very ambitious plans which are actually being rolled out, and looks like it's in line or ahead of the game in terms of the whole expressway development happening. So we see the whole WSA opportunity, as many of you may have read about, wayside amenities, which these are large areas where you would have food outlets, you would have other amenities, retail, fuel, all in one experience, which makes sense for players like us. Organized players, larger investments, multi-brand, a location where logistics is key, deliver that. So it's the same DNA, the same expertise we developed in travel and airports, transcending across two highways. And that we see no doubt opportunity over the next few years as that rollout happens, as those WSAs and those expressway developments happen. We see that as a great opportunity for the business with the same strengths that we focused on. So very briefly, I know I spoke about this earlier, but just touching on a bit more detail, what is our business model? What are the areas we focused on? So travel QSR, simply put, selling food and beverage, at airports. It's about driving more passengers to you. So one, yes, no doubt, more passengers come in the airports, but us increasing penetration. That's how we get a sale from there at these places as well. Lounges as well, very similar, creating those experiences. No doubt the customer experience is you whether swipe your card for access, whether you pay as a walk-in customer, whether you actually go and you're an airline passenger flying business class or a frequent flyer. There are different modes to access our lounges. But On top of that, you'll also see the difference in the service levels these days, additional services, spas and lounges, the F&B options you have. You could go to a lounge in some area and have a small auditorium where you can watch a movie. Those are the experiences, private areas, small conference rooms as well. A lot happening on the lounge front as well. Ultimately, these are revenue opportunities, experiences ultimately tied into all of these as well. And we will focus on various costs, which would be, I think, your food costs, labor costs, rent and overheads in different areas that ultimately drive the business that we deliver, and the profit growth and revenue growth come from those drivers. So again, talking of our growth, particularly if we just look at how we see our growth, and how we see the business being. So 3 key components that we've broken up. So one, no doubt, is contract retention. Retaining existing contracts is a key part of our business. And humbly put, we've been successful in business to do that with 94% renewal rates since the inception of TFS. In addition to that, like-for-like growth. For any business, growing your existing outlets is a key, crucial component and is the best way to grow. So a key part of that, no doubt, is growing existing outlets we operate by a combination of, we have strong passenger growth in the industry, coupled with obviously inflation that plays a part of that as well. In addition, our efficiencies we drive. Now this could be as simple when you're flying to an airport, you may see this. It could be a grab and go fridge today. You have so many low-cost carriers. People going on low-cost carriers, next to a gate, you see an outlet, I want a quick meal, I want something fresh. Put a grab and go fridge, someone takes it up. Could be something like today we see a particular thing, there's a monsoon festival going on, let's drive something. During the summer, something around mango. Those, driving those tastes, those experiences, changing what's the popular ingredient today. Today, for example, beetroot or kale, the very popular vegetables, driving that. Those initiatives, going to a minute degree, drive consumer spend, drive consumer delight, and ultimately drive our LFL growths, that type of nuance. And that's our focus, looking at those real minute differences across consumer trends, across airports, across regions as well. And the last component, no doubt very important for us as well, from 1 airport in 2009 to 18 airports today, is net contract gains, right? Winning new outlets across, whether it's existing markets where we operate, we can get more outlets in the same airport, or new terminals, or new growth, winning contracts in new airports where we don't operate. We're present at 14 airports out of the entire Indian ecosystem. So there's a long runway of opportunity as well for us in winning opportunities at these new airports, coupled with what I mentioned earlier with the lounges internationally, as well as highways, we see as a great opportunity for us as a business in travel as well. There's one slide for it, but possibly this actually needs a larger mention. Ultimately, delivering it is through our people in the business. So for us, we're very clear thing. We have a thing called OTP for us, which is our thing: ownership, trust, and transparency, and people first. It's about how the team members there, you need to empower them to be able to deliver, because ultimately the consumer experience comes from the people on the ground. And therefore, whether it's about attracting and retaining the right talent, training them right, empowering them with the right tools to deliver the consumer experience, about creating rewards, employee benefits, the right atmosphere from them. All of that is an integral part of TFS, and I think we'll be proud, with near about almost 6,000 team members at the business. We're very focused on the customer satisfaction, and you can see some of the references of the scores. These are third-party scores in terms of our employee engagement surveys, especially for a front-end business, to get that level of, these are high-pressure environments, and yet we're proud of the positive feeling our employees feel, and that's something we constantly focus on to deliver. So just talking a bit about our numbers and growth and margin, I'm going to request Vikas Kapoor, our CFO, to come up and take you through how the business has been going on those fronts.
Thank you, Varun. Hope I'm audible to you. So, in terms of numbers, it's always said a business has to be judged by something. Nothing better than financial metrics. And our numbers speak for themselves. When we talk about the customer experience, the areas that we operate in, it's also getting reflected in terms of a strong financial performance. When you look back at our performance, the main thing that I would like to highlight is consistency. There is consistency in the growth, there is consistency in the margins, and there is consistency in the PAT. Because that's in the end what we all want. We have been growing consistently on the basis of our like-for-like, as well as in terms of our net gains. That has contributed to an overall revenue of roughly around 1690 for crores for FY25. That's a massive growth of 21%. In terms of EBITDA margins itself, that itself has grown by 35% to roughly around 554 crores. And when you look at the PAT, which is the end result of it, we are talking about roughly around 380 crores and a sizable growth of around 27%. This further gets translated. Just one second. Yeah. Apologies for that. Yeah. When you reflect back in terms of the key ratios, the return on capital employed stands at a healthy 50%, and that's the benchmark, roughly around from 45 to 52%, where we kind of hit in terms of ROCE. Our cash balance are very healthy. We are surplus of around 600 crores, which means that we have enough leeway in our balance sheet for the growth opportunities that Varun mentioned earlier. And our operating cash flows are roughly around 514 crores for FY25. All this translates to enough momentum, enough strength in the balance sheet to continue the growth sphere that we are in. The last is sorry. If you look at it, it's an industry with strong structural growth, which is in terms of like for like, as well as the segment that we operate in, both airport as well as the airport lounge industry. When you look at in terms of the core essence, we are the largest player in the aviation segment in the travel QSR and the lounge spaces that we operate in. We are present in more than 14 of the largest airports in the country. And more than that, we are backed by experienced promoters as well as an experienced management team. When you look at financials, which is again what I would like to reiterate and leave with every one of you, is 1690 crores of top line, 32% of EBITDA margin, 21% of PAT margin, and a ROCE of 50%. Thank you.